Hello everyone, this is Stacia Hummel and I am doing a review of the Babyville cloth diaper patterns versus the La-Di-Da cloth diaper patterns. These are both bought-in patterns. I just want to say off the bat that the full retail for this one is $10 at Joann's, but I think I got it for $5 with a coupon. And this one was $8 or $9, and that's as a PDF download, and then you have to print it. So that was an additional $3. So really, Babyville was like, you could guess about $7 if you didn't have a 50% off coupon. And La-Di-Da was the full, like 9 to 12. I also want to throw in a quick hint before we get started that something my mother-in-law taught me was to take freezer paper and to trace your pattern with freezer paper, and that preserves your pattern and also makes it, if you need multiple people, like something like diapers, if you need someone to make 10 diapers for you or something, you can trace it and instead of having to write your own pattern. So that's something I did here, is I went through and then I obviously had cut it out already. And that's just a real quick tip from me and my mother-in-law on how to preserve your patterns. This is the La-Di-Da pattern. It comes, of course, in the PDF, so all the pages are the 9 by 13 and all the 8.5 by 11. And so the first thing you have to do is go through and cut and piece them together and line up the lines and tape them or whatever. And that is a lot of additional work, I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit annoying, but it's not bad, considering the benefits of having a PDF and being able to print wherever or have a quick reference on your computer. That's pretty nice, but it does take a lot, especially when you get to the larger sizes. You have 3 pages where you have to cut and tape and line them all up and make sure they're perfect. Another thing I noticed is there's a bunch of these 1-inch test squares all over them. I haven't found in there what those purposes are. I really have no idea why she has a bunch of these squares on all of the patterns saying they're 1-inch test squares. I really don't have a clue. But I was going to talk about this last, but I'll mention it now. This is the most annoying. This is the soaking pattern, so the soaker that goes on the inside. And the way that they did it is you have the large, the medium, the small, and the newborn. Well, they're not all the same length of baby, obviously. So you line it up like this for your large, but then to shorten the length, you have to fold them down to get the medium, and then you have to fold that down to get the small, and fold that down to get the newborn. And that took quite a while. It was pretty annoying. I made the mistake of not noticing that right away, and I had just started tracing all of the lines until I got to the small, and there was a gap, and that's when I figured out, oh shoot, I have to go through and take them all apart and piece them all differently. So then, again with the freezer paper, so I went through and I did a separate large and a separate medium with the small and the newborn size. So that's annoying, but if you're into that, that's okay. The Babyville, in contrast, it's 30 pages. This is 30 total pages, but 10 of which are the patterns. So you really only get 20 pages of tips and directions on how to sew. The book, you cannot get in a PDF. You can only get it as a physical book, and it's obviously all in color. But all the patterns come stapled on the inside and folded up like this. And so that's more like a normal pattern you'd buy at the store. You just cut it apart. But what's really nice about this is that this is 60 pages of tips and tricks and tons and tons and tons and tons of pictures. So every little step really is illustrated, so there's no question as to what they mean. And that's really nice. Another thing I noticed, which again, this is just a quick overview of our before I begin sewing, this is just what I've noticed from just looking through it, is that the hook and loop on the La-Di-Da patterns are quite small. And they recommend the 1.5 inches, but these are, I think these are less than an inch that she has drawn on here. So I don't think they're to scale, unless it does say in there to make them a smaller size, but I haven't seen a pattern yet that says make them a smaller size depending on the diaper. So that's just kind of showing that maybe it's a kind of cheaper, not as well done pattern, which is kind of sad considering it's more expensive. Again, the pictures, the La-Di-Da pattern does have a lot of pictures, which is why I bought it. Everyone said it was very thorough. But I only have a black and white option to print, so they're not in color, and you can tell it's done at home. I mean, some of them, most of them get the point across, but some of them, this one in particular, you really have to study it to see what it is she's trying to say. They're small, and again, most people have color, but they're just not as big and bright and beautiful and really easy to read like these nice big colorful ones. A really annoying thing about the Babyville though is that is a specific brand. So they of course are trying to sell their Babyville products. So you will have entire pages where they're saying buy our appliques, use our elastics, use our snaps, use our pull, and that's pretty annoying. If you're able to look back past that and know that they're trying to make a sale, I really do like this pattern up front. We'll see when I hit the sewing machine. But you just have to realize that even though they're recommending these pliers and this elastic, that's because they're going to get money for it. Whereas the La-Di-Da, we assume, again, we don't know if she has any endorsements with this, but we assume that it's just a woman working at home that just has her findings of what she found, and therefore the elastics that she recommends and the fabric section that she recommends are actually legitimate and worth buying. They are set up in very different ways. In the La-Di-Da, she starts with a lot of the general, even says general tips, and it goes through a lot of things that overlap, including the elastic section, which I thought was rather confusing. She goes through how to do elastic in the beginning, and then just refers to that section when you get into the individual styles of diapers, which I didn't like at all, because as I'm going through the course, I don't want to have to flip back to another page to find how to put in the elastic, when the elastic is the hardest part of the whole project. I could see maybe mentioning it twice, but I don't know about mentioning it ahead of time. This is something I want to note quick, is she gives some really good insight into how to savor the most amount of fabric by how to lay it out on your fabric. And that is really nice. I didn't see that in the skim that I did of the Babyville. Another thing are gussets. Gussets on the diaper are where around the leg opening where there is a second elastic that just helps to hold in the moisture. And as you can see, the Babyville has a whole section of how to put in gussets. It says that it tells you how to do encased elastic. It doesn't. It only tells you how to do fold over elastic to make a second, I don't know if you can see that picture, but it's a second barrier right in there. And then this is what most of them just have, is just the one. The research that I've found says that multiple gussets will keep it from leaking. So I've been wanting to do multiple gussets on all of the ones I do, but it's an advanced technique, and I don't know how to do it other than on a cover. I don't know how to do it on a pocket or how to do it on a all-in-one or an all-in-two, and it doesn't explain that. But at least it mentions it in a little bit on how to do it on the cover, whereas the La-Di-Da doesn't mention it at all, and it's just the one layer and it is expected to work. So that was another thing I noticed. With the Babyville, however, it does have some weird jargon that it uses. When you look in the index, from the very beginning it says things like yolk diaper, snail shell diaper, turned and top stitch pocket diaper, which obviously I know what turning and top stitching is, but that's not technically a kind of diaper, is a turned and top stitched diaper. sham pocket, like all these things where it's like, what is that? I've never heard of that in the cloth diapering world as a word of jargon that's commonly used. So you just kind of have to flip through them and look at the pictures. You're like, oh, I think that's supposed to be a flip. Like, okay, so if I want a flip style diaper, I have to go to the yoke diaper. So I don't know quite how that is, just different jargon, different ways of using it. But before I forget, with the jargon on the la-di-da, I was really disappointed in this one section of the la-di-da. I thought originally I would do all-in-one diapers exclusively. The more research I've done, I've changed my mind to not do all-in-ones, but I know a lot of women would still like that convenience, especially for extended family or whatever, to just be able to put it on and be done with it. But as you can see, this is another annoying thing, is just flipping through and trying to find what you're looking for. But the la-di-da instructions for the all-in-one diaper is pretty pathetic. I mean, it gives about maybe 3 pages to each kind of diaper, and then it gets to the all-in-one and it says, well, just follow the other instructions and sew all the layers together. I mean, it has one diagram, but there's no pictures, there's no anything. It just says the difficulties of an all-in-one, how an all-in-two is supposed to be better, pretty much, and follow other instructions. And then moves on to covers with fold-over elastic. So that was pretty disappointing, considering that's what a lot of cloth diapering moms are looking for when they're looking for convenience with a cloth diaper. We're almost done here. Another thing is, I've seen a lot of moms that are looking for a snapping alternative to have the snaps on the side, whereas with, well, that's the insert. With a regular diaper, this is the back. So as you fold this up, of course, that's where your hook and loop goes. But some moms would prefer to have the snap over here. And some patterns don't have that option and don't have that alternative. Babyville does touch on that a little bit in the back. All of their variations and tips are in the back if you'd like to change things around. It does mention on how to do that a little bit. There's a small section here somewhere. But there is no mention of that at all in the la-di-da, which maybe that's just she found it works better to not have a side snap. But for the moms that would prefer that, it would be nice for her to consider telling them how to alter that. Next I wanted to talk about fitting adjustments. Babyville does an amazing job of talking about how to alter their patterns. These are the Babyville patterns. How to alter the Babyville patterns to either shorten or lengthen the pattern, depending if you have a tall, skinny baby. And they even drew in these lines on each of their sizes to do, and that's where you would cut to either shorten or lengthen, and then you have to add the seam allowance or whatever. But that's how you make the adjustment on your child, because obviously there's no one pattern that's going to work for every baby. And I mean, they go through pretty extensively talking about how to cut it and how to change it.